Hey, everybody. Welcome to another exciting, amazing, incredible, ecstatic episode of Clinic Gym Radio. I am your host, and hopefully I can be ecstatic as well today, Dr. Josh Satterlee. And luckily, I'm here with the doctor of follow-up and CRM communication, Ross Walker. Ross, how are you, buddy?
I am just peachy. That may be the first time I've got doctorate in an intro before. Completely false, but I like that. And no student loans to get it. That was the best part.
Ooh, that is interesting because that may violate everything our country's about right now. Anyways,
it really
did. So Ross, you are a guy in the marketing and automation space, but we're talking to a bunch of people who may not know what that means. Can you give a super basic idea of what you do day to day and what you help companies with?
Yeah, going super basic, but hopefully straight to the pain point. I work with a lot of companies that sell usually high ticket, higher touch types of things. And imagine everything that you forgot last week. Imagine if that didn't get forgotten. And if every good idea you had in marketing got put into place and then never went away. That's what I do. We try to take all those good ideas and all those things that slip through the cracks, put them in a nice system that's automated, and they just happen every time.
So if I was driving down the street on the way to my office on Monday and I thought, you know what I want to do? I want to send a text message to every single one of my patients on their birthday with a picture of me that says happy birthday. And then the people that have spent more than $5,000 at my office, I want to send them a birthday card. And I have that idea. I show up on Monday and I forget it by my second appointment of the day. You're the guy that comes in, helps me remember that on Monday.
Yep.
And Tuesday, when I said, you know how I set up that birthday thing? It'd be sweet as an anniversary alert to send my wife flowers the week before our anniversary. I had that thought Tuesday. You can make both those things happen and happen forever.
You got it. We'll turn it on, make it happen forever, almost to the point where people will say, dude, you've been sending me the same card for 17 years. What's going on? But that's a great problem to have.
You could set up an alert every year for me to change it so they never got the wiser, right?
We'll get you a reminder that says, we need a new picture, Josh. Give me a new picture.
Ross is so good that he can actually have a system that checks the court records to see if you got divorced to kill the automation to send your wife, now ex-wife, flowers. So you don't get paid, you don't get hit for another $55 when things aren't going well, right?
Bingo. We'll just check that.
You're that amazing. All right. Well, that's a high-end automation, but there's a lot of silly little ones that get forgotten, or like birthday cards. I'm just using that as one example. But in any office, there's literally thousands of things that can be automated, and you're the guy that kind of works those out, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Fantastic. Now, Ross, you don't really interact with the customers of any of the businesses that you work for, correct?
Heavens no. No, I don't.
Heavens no.
If you're going to rely on me to interface with your customers, you have much bigger problems.
You won't have customers. That's the thing.
Sales prevention. That's what I'm really good at.
That's great. But you have literally experienced everything from, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, small business. I'm talking like a one-person dental office all the way up to a fairly famous marketing consultant who would see millions of dollars of sales every week.
Yep.
All right.
Everywhere in between. From those, one of the funnest ones I have, honestly, they are a rocket manufacturer. They make parts for Boeing. They make parts for nuclear bombs and the disposal of nuclear waste, to the one-man show doctors and everything in between.
Awesome. Man, if I was that guy I would, every time my wife asked me to do anything, I'd be like, babe, listen, doesn't take a rocket scientist to do the laundry, okay?
Exactly.
Doesn't take a rocket scientist to unload the dishwasher, baby doll.
Just do that.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't last long. Anyways, so Ross, when you hear people, let's start out with this. When you hear people say, that's great, Ross, but my business is different. What goes through your mind at that moment?
Shortly after I hit them in the side of the head,
right?
Compose myself again. I'm like, okay, your business might be different, but if your customers are still human, that's what matters. Yes, you are selling something different, but if you're selling to someone with a heartbeat and two eyes, they still want to be treated like good people. They still have the same psychological triggers and buying decisions all the way from changing your oil to buying a new Boeing jet and everything in between. It's the people on the other end. It's not about you.
So if I took out the product that you're selling and the description of it, many of the systems that you build look eerily similar.
Yeah, that would probably put me out of a job if everyone realized how similar these things really are.
Okay.
They really are.
All right. Well, let's go back a little bit because I always love the backstory. Now I would say that you're well respected as an expert in this field. People look at you. You're certainly, I know that you're making one software supplier that we both use. You make them hustle for their money. They gotta push the envelope because of you.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. But I'm sure that it wasn't always like that. You weren't always at the point of the spear. Can you go back and go back to when you were, I'd love to hear how you're first introduced to marketing automation and thought, holy crap, like this has some power. This has some juice. And by the way, real quick, marketing automation, it can be as simple as like MailChimp. MailChimp is a form of marketing automation, right?
Yep.
And it goes up to like, I'm going to name some software so people might know it. ClickFunnels, Infusionsoft, Lead Pages, all the way up to something called Salesforce, which is, I hope nobody listening to this has to deal with that because you don't do anything Salesforce for less than 20 grand. Yep. But it's all those type of Zapier. I'm trying to think of other things that people might have heard of. ConvertKit. What are some other names?
You got the big ones right there. Lead Pages is still that gets floating around.
Yeah. Drip.
Drip.
Yeah.
I think you probably got them all.
So if you're using those type of things or heard people talk about that, Ross is the kind of guy that coordinates that in a high level effort. But go back when you were cranking up the back of the computer to get it to work and how you got introduced to this.
I'll contain it. I have a fun story, but I'll contain mostly to marketing automation. I'd sold a company, believe it or not, and retired. And one of my friends came up and he's like, hey, you seen those like startup competitions where you do the startup and if they like it, they pick you and maybe 10 of the companies and they fund you and go like that. He had a really cool idea. And I'm like, that's a fun idea. We should try that. And he's like, help me take this through the startup thing, the accelerator. And we applied and we won. We got some funding. And long story short, I'm trying to at least, we'd had a developer that we paid and was creating this thing that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I was acting as the CEO and working on the marketing too. And I went to a local social media marketing event. And the guy down on the stage was flipping through some slides and he's like, and you could do this and this and this. And if you get really crazy, you could look at something like Infusionsoft, but that's not for most of you. And he moves on. And if you say that, that's like, okay, challenge accepted. What are you talking about? I'm like, I need to know what Infusionsoft is now, right? So we went home that night and a good friend of mine's like, yeah, you should check it out. You're really going to like this. I'm like, how come you didn't tell me before? So anyway, I look at it and I'm like, holy cow, this is really powerful. And I discovered a software called Fix Your Funnel. And between the two of them, and it was my first exposure to them, in about 3 hours, I had recreated all the functionality of this software business that we were taking through the accelerator. I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. I should have been excited. I'm like, this is horrible. And I called up our board of director, who was at the time it was board of director. And I'm like,
easy to get on the phone at that point.
Yeah, I'm like, we got to talk. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, look at this and this. And he's like, oh, well, that is interesting. So needless to say, we wrapped up that business in a good way for everybody. And then I moved forward. But because of that, getting into Infusionsoft, I'm like, from my previous marketing experience, this is what was lacking. Like you would set up great things for people. And as soon as you handed it to a human, everything died.
Yeah.
So by being able to
nobody in the accelerator, like the higher ups that selected you guys as the winners and stuff, they didn't look at this and go, that's a great idea, but it's being done by other companies right now.
They had no idea that this was already being done.
Wow. Man, that's funny. Like you had $1 million balloon floating there and you just like hit it with a needle and
yeah. like we could continue to go, but
wow,
these guys are developing way faster. So,
all right. So you get exposed to this and you're like, man, there's power here. Now fast forward to the first time that you could honestly say, I would love to hear the story of when you applied it to a business and dramatically change what was happening. Not just kind of like everybody's getting a welcome campaign or everybody's getting, they know what my dog's name is now and have a picture of it. Like when you truly put it in, it was jet fuel, a
lot of the first companies that we had at that point, that I was working with, they were still building their list. So they would suddenly start building a list, and they were excited about that. That was good. They're like, oh, that's really cool, but how does it go to money? And we would slowly start trickling in some money. But the first time that I was like, dude, that was awesome, was actually with Laura Langmeyer.
Okay.
Worked with her. And
for people don't know that name, author, what would they call him now? Influencer, got a whole stack of New York Times bestsellers, and she helps people with money and business. Okay. Cool. And she had a section of her email list that was just really, really old, like neglected old, right? No one had been in that position for a while. And she said, got this many people over here. What would you do? I'm like, oh, all right. And I was working with two friends, Brent and John at the time, and came together and like, let's do this. And in keeping all the secrets secret, but in less than a week, we generated a very substantial amount to their bottom line. And I was like, that was the coolest. And it was just because you reached back out to someone who hadn't been touched for a long time in an honest, authentic way and said, hey, we haven't talked for a while, but you should know what we're up to. You want to jump in with us? So can you give us a rough number of folks that were on that list? Would this be tens of thousands, thousands?
Tens of thousands.
Not
hundreds of thousands, but tens of thousands.
Okay. And to her, that was less, I'm going to guess less than like 10% of her total list?
Yeah, it was probably.
Well, the reason I'm asking you is, so if I'm a local chiropractor and I go, hey, I've had 2,500 patients over the last 5 years.
Oh,
you know what? I haven't reached out to the people I saw the first 3 years, but luckily I have their email address as part of my EMR or blah, blah, blah. If people could pull that out and go, hey, I know we haven't seen each other in X amount of years, would it be interested? Again, back to no business is truly different. That would allow me to actually make some ducats, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And that was just as simple as just bringing up a topic that they're interested in, but sort of new, or that's a buzzword that they hadn't been educated about. Right. That's all it took.
And the great news is what I've learned about the marketing piece is if you contact those people, they're stale, you got to clear the cobwebs off their names and email addresses. But let's say that nothing happens. You're exactly where you are now. They're not
exactly even.
Yeah. So the worst you could do is get back to zero. The best you could do is, let's say 10% of them. So if I'm saying that was 10% of my 2,500, so I send an email out or whatever, find some method, and you probably have better methods to contact 250 people. If 5% of them come in, what is that? 10% would have been 25. So it's 13 people.
Yeah.
I'm sure with most chiropractors, that's going to improve the next month.
Exactly. It just, that small amount. And we were somewhat aggressive, and we went with 2 emails, and both of them repeated the exact same call to action. It says, you might be interested. If you are, you have to fill out this application, and then we'll see if you can get on the phone with one of our specialists. So we'd neglected them for way too long. And then we made it a hard, full of friction type of thing that they had to do, fill out an application. And then maybe it was some tough posturing.
This is like in The Simpsons where it's like, meet the man who shook the hand of Burt Reynolds.
It's exactly.
You're not going to talk to Laura, but you can fill an application to talk to one of her, associates.
And the best lesson, especially for the people that you work with, Josh, is it was somewhere around half of those people that purchased did not buy what we asked them to buy, but they got on the phone. They just had a reinvigorating conversation and said, yeah, really what I wanted to do or what I've been thinking about, and having someone getting the appointment on the phone, they're like, oh, well, you know what would be a really good fit is something else we have.
So I send out an email saying, hey, do you have back pain? We're doing this screening on back pain. And I get the person on the phone. They're like, I know you said about back pain. You guys don't take care of headaches, do you?
Yeah.
Me and my sister have been dying from headaches lately and blah, blah, like, well, yeah, of course we do.
Yep. At any time, there's 2% of the people ready to buy what you have.
Yeah.
Anytime. And just reaching out.
All right. So I don't know where we should go from here because I really want to dig into that piece, the reaching out. But here's my premise, Ross, for the bulk of the rest of this conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know about other industries, but the industries I deal in, the gym industry and the chiropractic industry, there is no shortage of less than desirable people and some desirable people who will promise that they will run Facebook ads in your honor, and that you will soon need to replace the carpet in your office from all the people who are going to swarm it and wear out the carpet, wear out your table, and it'll be like you'll have cardboard boxes of cash that you will use to build your next office, and it's just money, 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 people coming in. But what they don't tell you is that, and this is my experience, if you run a Facebook ad and you get people to respond and you leave it at that point, that the chances of you getting a new patient into your office from running a Facebook ad are pretty close to the definition of absolute zero. But the problem that nobody talks about is if you get those people to respond and then you do nothing, they don't like you. Yeah. They got vulnerable with you and then you let them go, Yep. So can we dive into that for a second and what you've learned? And if you want to pepper in some of the current business you're doing, because you're really close to this market in that current business, right?
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Awesome.
Yeah. So just to double stamp, I'll make it fast on what you did. Yeah. I mean, I can get all the attention in the world, just streak down the middle of my neighborhood and everyone will look, but it doesn't mean it's going to evolve anything. Yes. Getting a click, getting someone interested with a good offer, that's getting easier, but it's still not the easiest thing in the world. I don't believe all those people that offer, hey, I can fill, like whatever. Because 9 times out of 10, people don't have a good follow-up system anyway. Mm-hmm. And in working, so I don't do a lot with gym owners, but doctors, yes, very much so with doctors, chiropractors, functional therapists, those guys. If you can get the person's attention with a good offer, and what you just said, there's an extra level of vulnerability when I'm talking about my body, an injury, an illness. It's literally a weakness, and exposing weaknesses is something I've always been told is a bad thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I went the extra mile to even reach out and admit that I'm having whatever issue that I want some help with. You can't just do it business as usual. So through some trial and error, through maybe some dumb luck, a couple of things that we've picked up is, number one is immediate response. If they've got themselves to the place where they're willing to admit and to talk, go ahead, and you got to follow up quick is number one. And it's not just bots. Bots are cool, yay, but let a bot be a bot, let a human be a human. And this is a part where a human needs to step in. Okay. One of the most important things you can do is just flat out ask, hey, is this the time that you need to take care of this? Or on a 1 to 10, how motivated are you? And if it's anything below a 7, it does not get any further. It just doesn't. We still acknowledge them and we communicate with them, but not the same.
Just for some context here, if I run an ad and I say, do you want to lose 20 pounds? You're saying that most humans be like, forget this ad. But the person that says, you know what? I do need to lose 20 pounds. I'm pretty disappointed in myself, blah, blah, beat themselves up a little bit and enter their information. Now it goes to you. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Yeah, unfortunately, right? Because then they're going to be like, you're just like everybody else. You're like my stepdad and you don't like me. Right.
Yep. And you hurt your industry too.
Right.
By not responding, you hurt you and everybody else.
You are the stereotypical thing they thought you would be. Right. Yep. But you're saying if that person, I put out an ad, person submits their info and it comes in at 10:01 a.m. on Thursday, how soon do I want to respond to that person and go, hey, I know you responded. Cool. I'm here for you.
You got less than 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes. And we've timed this. We've monitored it. And there is a humongous change from that 5 to 7 minute right there. It drops off massively. But in 5 minutes, if you reply really, really well, you'll get it. And I have a doctor that gets 90% of those people in his office. 90%.
From an ad with a response to in his office.
Yep. They responded and they rated themselves 7, 8, 9, or 10. And they said, yes, this is the time. This is my motivation scale. The ones they get in 5 minutes, 90% of those show up to the appointment.
I hope that somebody listening just needed to pull their car over to the side of the road, because what Ross said should be, you should feel like the earth is shaking and you should hear what sounds like the sound of the ocean in your ears right now from, the world should be changing. So based on that, Ross, I mean, just as I should not be running ads 24 hours a day. I should be running ads that are in time with when me or my staff or my team can actually respond to the people that do opt in.
Yes,
I mean, if I run ads at 8 a.m. and I go, okay, listen, I have from 5 to 6 p.m. set aside to call people back. What you're saying is I'm going to have a whole lot less than, 50% of a chance with those people?
Oh, way less. Drops, like if you go, once you've hit that hour, you're at best 30%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just horrible.
And you're talking for some people that have a really good system.
Yeah.
That's 30%. I mean, even if you have
30%.
all the things dialed in, shit. So we're probably looking at 10 to 15 if this is our first time building a system.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay.
And
so I don't want to, we can go down this path forever, but
I've got a little bit more I can share with you.
Yeah. So number one is immediate response.
Immediate. It's got to be right now.
Okay. And that is text message and phone.
So what we do, and I'll keep it somewhat general here, they were on the internet. They're expecting an email. It's almost the point where like that's going to be there. They expect that. So you do need to send that. And you can send that 24 hours a day, because there are people sitting up late at night and they just want that confirmation. Yep, they got my information. Boom. There's
some sort of lead magnet. Hey, here's your guide to losing 20 pounds in 4.5 days.
There it is right there, right?
Yeah. Cut off your right leg.
Oh, yep.
Sorry.
Cut off the right leg. And then the next one needs to be, hey, we got your message. And this is where I say you can run Facebook ads after hours, but only if, huge disclaimer here, only if you do the following. You need to know that it's after hours, and you have to send another message that says, so glad you saw our ad, anxious to work with you. We're not in the office right now, but let me reframe my expectations. You're going to hear from us within the first hour of the next business day. If you need something else, you can reply, blah, 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 blah. But we frame it that way and just say, you caught us when we're home with our family, just like you are with yours. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. But at least acknowledge them.
You got to acknowledge them. So the emails are there. And then a text message. If it's, again, we have a little analysis. The data's there. You know what time of day it is. And you're running ads locally, so you know the time zone. And you send a message that says, Josh, got your request. Looks like you want to meet. I'll be calling you within the next 5 minutes from this phone number. Is that still good? Or would you rather text? So they don't have an option, pick up or don't pick up. Do you want to accept my call, or would you rather text? Because some of them are at work. They weren't supposed to be Facebooking at work, but they did. They're like, actually, and it's been a while since I looked. At last time it was trending at just over half the people. It said text is better, but they reply. So this is where everything hangs, is you need to have someone at the desktop. You need to have it on your phone, and you get alerted. You just sent a text, or you just got a text back.
Wow.
And then there's a chain of command. This person's the first person to get it. They reply. If they're not working that day, then this person does it. But there's hardcore. And again, the 90% that I have, they have a chart. It's this person, then that person.
Well, what you're saying too is I can reduce the cost of my ads by probably 50 to 75% if I improve the work that my team does.
Yeah, you could spend a lot less and just get better follow-up.
Because if I'm getting 90%, I've run ads where I'm getting 5% and I'm excited. So if Homeboy's getting 90%, that dude is...
This is great.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So immediate response. And if you can't do immediate response because of hours, send a message. Just acknowledge the fact that you're there, that you heard them, you heard their Mayday signal, and you're going to do something about it. And then, oh, by the way, you actually have to do something about it the next day.
Yeah, you really do need to actually do that. And someone gets to be the point on there, because pretty much any good system, like the ones we use, it will timestamp every action. So later, someone else goes through and says, they texted back to us at 10:30. Guys, we didn't reply until 11 o'clock. What happened here? Why did or didn't we?
Yeah.
And if you want to really, and be aware that a lot of these people are going to think it's automated. They will text back and say, are you really live, or is this a human? And when you do that, you've suddenly exceeded their expectations. Now it's the opposite. You've now leveled yourself up. You are the pinnacle of your industry. They're like, oh my gosh, he really is there. They're really there. Oh, wow.
I get that a few times. They're like, who is this? I'm like, it's Josh. I'm so sorry. Call me right now.
Oh, that's fine. They almost, I was calling your bluff. You called mine.
Yeah. I always called the squirrels like in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where they're like, how do you shell so many nuts? And he's like, I have a team of squirrels and they're, they're shelling all the nuts. And I think that's what people think is going on. Like there's just squirrels at a keyboard, but
the squirrels. Yep.
All right. All right. So we have that process. I run an ad, immediate response or a timely message, and then immediate response the next day.
Yeah.
What other tidbits and nuggets do you have you learned through your deep dive into this?
The number one thing we're trying to do is get them on the phone. So whatever it takes, usually that text message, that's why we say we're going to call you, or is texting better? But we really do want to talk if we can.
But Ross, this is 2019, my man.
Right?
People don't use the phone.
They don't use the phone. It's amazing how many will.
Okay.
Because I'm that guy too. But because you texted me and then you called me from the same number, now it's no longer a weird number for me. I'm like, oh yeah, I was just texting this number. Okay. And the reason that we want to get them on the phone, there's a magic question that you ask, because when you fill out the form.
Pause really quick.
Yeah.
So by the way, everybody listening, when you're looking for a text message service to do this, you probably want one that offers you a phone number instead of like a 5-digit short code. So like when it's like, text, I hate money to 446666. That's not going to be as effective as Ross saying, hey, this is Ross. Here's my phone number. I'm going to call you from this. Because you can't call from a short code.
No.
So, all right. So
got to be 10 digits. Got to be your area code. You got to be able to pick your phone number.
Diabolical, man. Yeah, all right. This is where it gets into weeds. There's a lot of details here, but this is exactly what I wanted to talk about, because we're so far away from the ad running, and yet we are to the point where we're starting to make money with this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So then it's, hey, I'm going to call you, and your goal is to get them on the phone.
We're hoping to get them on the phone.
And before you go to the magic question, just for people out there going, well, I texted Ross and they didn't respond to the first one. Can you offer them some grace as to what you see as how many attempts or what it takes to get on the phone on average in the different industries, or if you know the doctor one, because not everybody's going to pick up, or they don't respond to the first text, right?
No, not everyone responds to the first text. Sometimes
I hit on my wife seriously like 7 or 8 times before she agreed to go on a date with me. And the first 3, I don't even think she knew I was hitting on her. She'll admit that today. And I don't know how she resisted the next 4, but she did. But hey, here I am, married, beautiful kids, lovely wife, happy house.
Yep.
So don't worry. It happens to all of us. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And in between, so if they may not text the first time, but at least we got them in the first 5 minutes. So now mentally, we're top of the game with them. They're like, hey, they're responsive. That goes a long way to earning my trust with the doctor.
Sure.
And then, that same business day, an hour or so later, first of all, even if they don't reply to text, we still fulfill our promise of we're going to call you in the next 5 minutes. So we do. Mm-hmm. And there's a script of the voicemail you leave. It's exact. Hey, we saw your request for this type of consultation. We sent you a text. This is the voicemail to follow up. Give us a call back. We'll be in touch. And then you continue to text, a combination of texting and calling until you can get a hold of them or they die, one of the two. At some point, you'll have enough leads that after, say, 3 days, I consider them dead. They must have fallen in a ditch somewhere.
Okay.
You've got enough. But now they're in your email list. You don't ignore them. Now they're going to have a succession of emails or other things that can happen. But they won't be hourly texting after a couple of days.
All right. So let's say that we're successful. We get them on the phone.
Yes.
And they, hello, hi.
Hey. And first, just to acknowledge them. Josh, so glad to speak with you. Then you got to build the history. You filled out that question, or you saw our ad online for a free consultation. Appreciate you taking a second to do that. I'm looking at your questions that you answered here. And, there's a when or you might describe your symptoms or pain. Looks like you're experiencing this. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, Josh, so I can't do much that way. But I did notice something, and here's your magic question. On the motivation scale, Josh, you answered 8. Yeah, I did.
Right.
But Josh, why not 6?
Well, I don't know. This is becoming a bigger issue than it has been in the past. Like my foot is really hurting.
More than it ever has before?
Well, it hurt like this about 8 years ago, and I had to stop running a marathon. And I told myself I'd never let it hurt that much again, and it's starting to get there. So, but more than it has in the last couple years, yeah.
I can now I see why it's an 8. We got to get you in here. My next opening's Thursday. What do you say? But you always ask, yeah, what do we got today, right?
Yeah.
Whatever they rate, you ask, why not? And you pick a lower number. And now they are selling you why they have to get in there. You don't ask why didn't you give it a 10? Like, no, why didn't you go lower? And now, Josh, you're selling me of why you need my services.
Okay.
Maybe you said it out loud, and I just agreed with you. That sounds like we got to get you in here.
And man, does Ross understand me?
Right. You know? He listened, and great. Yeah. Again, I'm not the doctor, but I am the maker of the calendar, so I have the doctor's attention. So what do you say? Thursday, blah, blah, blah. Get it set.
All right, so let's say today is Tuesday, and that I have an appointment on Thursday.
Right.
Any other steps you recommend between now and then?
Yeah.
We agreed to a 3:00 on Thursday.
3:00 on Thursday. And this is the part that I can't track these stats, which does drive me nuts. I recommend that the doctor always give them homework of some sort. Okay, I need you to gather up medical tests. I need you to take a picture of, I need you to bring food diary, a pill I don't know. I tell them, give them any homework you can think.
Recent pairs of running shoes. I've seen this before. Yeah.
Yep. Bring it, get anything together. Yeah. Then of course there is hey, we got your appointment scheduled. As soon as you hang up, you get the email. We got you scheduled. The day before the appointment, there's an email. The morning of the appointment, there's an SMS again from the same number we've been communicating this whole time.
So, hey, Ross, looking forward to our appointment at 3:00 today. If you have any issues, call this number because it's going to go through to them, right?
Yep. And if possible, I always tried to find a question. It took me forever to think of the most obvious question on that one, Josh. Like I struggled for weeks. And now I say, hey, we've got an appointment today at 3:00. Looking forward to seeing you. Do you need directions? And by leaving it open-ended, people can't stand the loop and they will reply, no, I'm good. Or yes, I do. And then we can shoot them an image of the front of the building or the Google map thing. But I got them to reply. Also helps the show up rate. I know that you know that we're going to see each other.
Yeah, that's interesting that you, two things I want to cover there because number one, I mean, that's exactly what you would do for a person you truly care about. Like if you're like, Grandma, we just moved into a new house. We're having a housewarming. I'd love to have you come over. I would probably confirm with her, hey, you guys are still coming over Saturday, right? And then the day of, by the way, Grandma, do you have, do you know how to get to our house? I probably wouldn't send a Google map link to her, but I might give her some directions or something somehow, and I would probably send a picture like, hey, this is what it looks like. It's the blue one. It's the fourth one down from the big tree, blah, 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 like
park on the north. It's the third door in. Like, right. Okay.
But people don't do that with their customers. They treat them like bags of money, right? They go, come in at 3:00. This is Josh. I'm confirming your appointment today at this time, period. No question. No, can I help? No offer of anything. Yeah. Just like, hey, you're doing it and you're going to pay us. Or please be. I always love the ones where they, like the doctor's offices. I went to see a doctor one time and I got a text. I'm like, oh, that's different. Please be 10 minutes before your appointment, which I go, all right, well then why'd you make the appointment for 3:00? That's your problem, not mine. And then it said, please be ready to provide prompt payment and present your insurance card. I'm like, my God, like, can you suck any more joy out of this visit? Not that it was for a joyous event, but like, I don't know how prostitution works, but I feel like they at least give you some leeway here. Where I'm not even in your office and you're asking me for money. I'm like, my God, like, and it's,
I did not see this podcast heading that way,
but it was funny because I'm like, oh my God, they're so far ahead of the game with this technology. Like I literally got a text.
Yeah.
But they were so far behind the curve with the approach. And it's like, again, like both those things need to happen for this to be successful. Hey, are you looking for the best exercise equipment available? Well, I think that you got to check out Perform Better. PerformBetter.com is a huge supporter of everything that is the Clinic Gym Hybrid. They are actually one of the biggest supporters of the FMS and the SFMA program. And I can't say enough great things about their 3-day summit. So if you're interested in some education every summer, they do their 3-day summits in Orlando, Chicago, Providence, and Long Beach. Long Beach is my favorite. That's where I go. But the speakers there will absolutely blow your mind. So check out performbetter.com, whether you need bands, mini bands, equipment, flooring, or their 3D design capabilities. I think it's fantastic stuff. So check out performbetter.com. Can you kind of illustrate the open-ended question thing? Because I have a feeling that came, you have a gorgeous beard these days, Ross. But I have a feeling underneath that beard is a chin that's taken a couple blows to the chin as screw-ups or education, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the open-ended question as the solution?
A few different things. Number one is if you just say it, number one, you could feel like Josh did, like I'm just getting pimped out here.
Yeah.
But number two, when people reply, that's the extra thing that we were looking for. We're always looking for something to stand out and letting them, one, know we were human, and two, having any sort of relationship before they show up was huge. And that helps the show up rate, even if it wasn't important, but they had a conversation, because that's the place. Like you have email, you talk to everybody in the world. Facebook is everyone. But SMS, if you look through the top 10 of your SMS, right now they're friends and family. Those are intimate people. And psychologically, if you and I connect there, I kind of bring that into our relationship. If I'm nice and we get to talk there, somehow I earn a little bit more trust. So asking a question instead of demanding a response, it just helped. It's hard to chart, but I can tell you it works.
I'll tell you one that happened to me yesterday or 2 days ago that I'm just like, I can't believe I have this feeling. So I got a text, hey, this is so-and-so from the Bernie 2020 campaign for Bernie Sanders. There's a rally this Saturday. Are you able to attend? Now, A, it's a text. I don't know how they got my number. B, they're asking an open-ended question, right? Like, and I didn't want to go down the path of yes, and they see it out. But then I said, stop, because I have my gut instinct was this is automated.
Yep.
So I reply, stop, and hit reply. Now, I got one of these like 3 months ago from a different campaign. When I hit stop, it says, you have been opted out. It gives you that like official wording.
Yeah.
This one, the lady says, no problem. I'll take you off the list. Let me know if you want to participate in the future. And I was like, oh, and I responded to her. Okay, thank you. Now, I'm pretty far away from Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to go further than 180 degrees and be further because like 181 actually brings you closer. So, but I'm pretty far away from him. But the way that she responded to me, I said like, oh, wow, they actually have it together. And if I were to completely change my political persuasion, I would work with this woman. I didn't care if she's with Bernie Sanders or who she's with, but I was just surprised. Like, okay, there's actually a person. This kind of goes to your earlier point. There's actually a person on the other end of this. And I want to work with a person, So it was interesting because I was like, I do not believe in the product, although I believe in this relationship-based marketing. So it was awesome.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that someone's doing it well. That is such a relief.
I just didn't want it to be Bernie Sanders.
Just why them?
But anyways, all right. So you have this method, and for people, so we run an ad, we get some leads. You got to respond immediately. I mean, as fast as you can respond.
Yeah.
Is as fast as you, I mean.
There is no too fast.
Right. Like by the time you get the ping, it's probably a minute has been burned, right? Between integrations and whatnot.
Yeah. By the time it gets passed through systems and then gets to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're already on the clock, and then you want to respond, and you want to respond as you were talking to a human, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Gotta be.
And the end goal of that immediate response, and maybe it takes 2 or 3 or 5 of them, is to get them on the phone.
Yep.
Correct?
And there is some that will want to schedule by text. I'm not going to shut the door in your face. If you want to schedule, that's fine. Yeah. But we do know that if we get the chance to talk, your show up rate is better.
Okay. And you're saying you can get show up rates above 50%. I mean, 90, you sound like 90%. You anti-gravity boots there, homeboy, but I'll believe you.
Yeah. And that was sustained over 60 days worth of metrics that we looked at.
And then once they agree to the appointment, don't just take it at face value. Continue to, what do you say, build the relationship, deposit to the relationship, provide a picture, provide a map link, ask them, do you need directions the day of, right?
Yep.
Awesome. All right.
If you, not all of my clients will do this, and you'll see why. But if you have a front office staff who is both willing and able to subject themselves to a picture, take a picture of them just kind of happy there at the front desk, and on the appointment reminder says, I'll be looking forward to seeing you. I'll be the one hiding behind the front desk, Susie. And now they even have a face that they're going to see, along with maybe the front door, but they're going to see Susie. And when they come in, they've already seen Susie. They're going to grin. They may be in pain, but like, hey, Susie, now they've got a leg up. They know a name.
I have a safe person here, right?
Yeah, this is comfortable. I even saw the desk. I know where I'm supposed to be. There's a little bit of extra comfort there.
I love it. I love it, man. All right. So Ross, along those lines, if you were to build a chiropractic office, dental office, medical office, functional therapy office, any of those offices, is there any way that you would change it based upon what you know about the marketing? Like you've been to bad offices, right? You've gone in and had horrible experiences. Yeah. And you probably sit there and think like, I could automate all one of you. You're like that kid who wishes people into the cornfield. I could automate all of you away from here. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. But seriously, how would you design this because the world has changed, except that we have these businesses that are like, well, this is how we did it. And this is how my dad did it and his dad and the guy he worked for. And this is how we do it. And it's like, yeah, but they weren't dealing with automation and Zapier and ClickFunnels and VoIPs and wireless, I mean, like, except for power, damn near nothing needs a wire anymore,
Yeah.
So anyways, any suggestions there at the front desk? Like, would you change to one of these apps like Front or something like that versus a normal phone system? One thing I'm thinking of, does it make more sense to have the person doing these phone calls in the back and do nothing but phone call, like don't have a phone at the front desk, which is a crazy thought, but
what a wild thought, right?
Yeah, but do the human things with humans.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of little things that I would do that one. I work with a lot of financial planners now also. And same thing, I'm like, the front desk person, we don't need someone anymore that just says, how may I direct your call? Like that person, they should have their own phone number, and whoever they're dealing with should have already been given that phone number, either by email, by text, newsletter, something else. They should already know that's who I need to contact. Be ahead of it before the problem comes up that they're going to call in and say, oh, I know who I'm going to call because
if I'm dealing with Morgan Stanley and I've got $500,000 at Morgan Stanley, when I call, I'm always dealing with Ross Walker. There may be 1,000 agents, but I'm always dealing with Ross Walker.
Yep.
So why don't I just have Ross's direct number, you're saying?
Just come right to it. Yeah. Because you went to Gmail or your phone and you searched for Morgan Stanley and all the messages came from Ross Walker. And the phone number there is always the same phone number for Ross. You can always get me, phone, by text. Anyone that's not doing text, I have a guy that I work with, and his right-hand guy at the office says, Ross, I promise you, none of our clients are on social media. He swore up and down, very passionately, none of our clients are on social media. I'm like, you're right, because there's someone else's clients right now, and they are using texting, and they are doing these things. They're just going with someone else.
Yeah.
The funnest thing ever was our first engagement doing some work for them. I think lead number 15 or 16 that I got them was a past client of theirs who'd left. And like, there you go. It was really fun. But yeah, those are some of the things I would change is.
Yeah. It's a good thing that you're Mormon, dude, because you'd be like, listen, I don't know. There's a great scene with Willem Dafoe where he wins a bet with this guy and he's like, dictating him the drink that he likes, like scotch, high-end scotch, one ice cube, a little bit of lemon, just like when that lead came through, like, listen.
Here it is.
Yeah. You're going to go to that liquor store and
this is what you're going to get.
At the top shelf, there'll probably be a glass case around it. Ask the guy to unlock it, reach in there, bring that back, pour me a drink, and I will never mention this again.
Exactly.
Doing these things, I may bring it up at every interaction we have, but anyway.
Every time.
Yeah. So for people listening, like this recipe, as we said, like no business is different, although we all think it is.
Yeah.
you worked for, I don't know if you want to mention names, but a very high end, well-known marketer, that 4 letters in his last name. And you applied basically the same system to, he was selling a marketing product, right? And like,
Yeah.
and how many people were you selling to? Like, you saw it in this huge volume of people.
Yeah.
Right. With a team of people who are doing the follow-up texts and calls and all that.
Yeah.
Do the numbers from that hold about true for what you're seeing at these local offices?
Totally do. And Frank's okay. Frank and I have talked about it, and it can be publicly discussed. But yes, what we saw with Frank.
Give us some idea what the volume of contacts or leads were that you would try and work through the system, and then what the smallest version that holds the same numbers is.
Ooh, that's a good one. No one's ever asked that, Josh. Thank you.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I try and only come up with good questions.
Yeah. So one of the first and biggest places we saw it with Frank was on a webinar.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk through this, and you help me pick out the numbers that were important.
Mm-hmm.
So on this webinar, I don't remember what the product was, but he would get, we just started asking for phone numbers to give reminders by text message, so that an hour before and 15 minutes before the webinar.
And just for some people who might not even know Frank Kern, but a monthly ad spend for this dude.
Oh, million?
Okay. So
million
we're
plus?
dealing in big numbers, huge audiences, exposing it to everywhere USA, at least, probably in other countries.
Yeah. And this one was, this was both cold traffic and medium list too. So he was going to both of these. Anyway, he'd have, at this point, smaller, we would go 500-600 people registered to attend.
Okay.
He could get 60% of those to show up.
So we're getting 300 people on a webinar.
It's around 300 people off the webinar. And then the ones that would stay to the end, what was he getting? Around 100 or just less than 100 would stick to the end, hear the pitch, and he would usually sell 20 to 30 of those.
Okay.
He would sign up off Frank's pitch.
Tell us our price point here, roughly.
Usually $1,000.
Okay. So we're seeing how long was the webinar?
Hour to hour and a half.
Okay. So we're getting a big chunk out of people's day.
Oh yeah. They spent their calendar for sure.
Yep. And we're getting them to part with a decent chunk of cash, $1,000. Yep. Right. That's not an easy pitch, but he's a master salesman. So
it's really good. Better than most.
That's about as good as you're going to see. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. He's up there.
All right. So you do that. Now, some people bought right away, I'm going to guess, but I'm going to guess that a bulk of people did not buy right away.
Did not buy right away. So
they heard the greatest salesman in the world.
Yep.
They did not buy at minute 0. Yeah.
They were done. It was over. We'd wait about an hour. And at that point, we'd pretty much see all the sales we were going to see.
Okay.
So he'd be in that 20 to 30 range right there on sales. And we're like, okay, that was cool. And then we would wait an additional 30 minutes. And then we would send out a text to anyone who did attend, but did not buy.
Okay.
So they didn't even have to stay to the end. So as long as they logged in, so we're back up to 200 and then didn't see the pitch or whatever, didn't buy, we would text them and say, hey, it's Ross from Frank Kern's office. Saw you enjoyed the webinar today. Did you have any questions? And they would say yes or no. And well, actually, what they'd usually say is this a real human? Because this was a couple of years ago. And
more than 50% of them would say that.
Yeah, more than half would just say, is this human? Prove it. And we'd usually say, well, I saw the headline in today's news that was blah,
and
blah,
they're
blah.
lucky you're Mormon, because you could have proved it in a very disturbing way.
I'll tell you, So after they were convinced this was human, then we'd say, any questions? They're like, yeah, or whatever it was. Yeah. Whatever it was, they would reply and they say, Frank authorized me to give a special deal to anyone who's really interested in buying today. If that's you, I can tell you about the deal. But if not, I don't want to take any more time.
So even when you're pitching them, you're leaving it open-ended.
Yeah, leaving it way open-ended.
Okay.
And the fun, just to stop at this part right here, like Frank never likes to have humongous amounts of people. At this point, he didn't like to have a lot of people. I think there was 7 people in his office total. And they weren't all salespeople. So
he doesn't want a team of 200 making calls.
He doesn't. He didn't want to fill that calls. He didn't want that many people calling in or calling out.
Yeah.
But on the very first go round, the most inexperienced person at text message was handling 30 conversations fluidly. Just having on that, they used fixture
more
phone.
Conversations than original sales you made.
Yeah. I mean, she can handle 30 and keep on top of all of them with a good response rate. She didn't drop any conversations. And she was the only one doing it at the time. And the first time we didn't beat Frank, we were kind of bummed. It was like 12 or 15 people that she closed that day. Now she closed more.
So you only did about 58% improvement on sales by texting and calling.
Exactly.
Heartbreaking. He made, whatever it was, 30 grand. You guys only made another 18.
Only another 18. Yep.
Yeah.
By the second webinar, we sold more. After that, we would sell more by texting. It slowly gained to, I think at the peak, we were doubling his sales.
So just for clarity, his sales never went down.
No, his didn't go down.
Still get that 20-ish, 25, 30, maybe 10, whatever.
Yeah.
So he'd stay consistent because he's, again, a great salesman.
Awesome.
But the follow-up system would beat the world's greatest sales guy.
Yep. Just following up.
And it was superheroes, as somebody once said. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. Ross, I know we're up against time. Do you have any? Can you keep going, or you got to go?
I can take a few more minutes. I'm okay.
Okay. So that's the biggest system you ever ran, right?
That was the highest number of people. Well, that other guy's was pretty close too.
But we're talking $1 million ad spends, multiple webinars, like team of people in the back. I don't think anybody listening is going to go, okay, I'm going to hire 7 people tomorrow and start spending $1 million on ads. But
true that.
So let's take it down to like Main Street USA. Do you have anybody that you've worked with that you're like, this is a smaller scale, though the numbers and systems still held true?
Yeah. We have the two that pop into mind. One of them is me. And then one is another one of my clients. I have a client that is an oil change shop, literally just an oil change shop.
Okay.
And then there's me. I'm helping financial planners fill up their dinner seminars.
Yeah.
And I'm doing all the work on those ones. It's a done for you on that. But both of those, as soon as we get permission to text and we've shifted from email over to text messaging, that's when everything goes up. You just let them talk to a person at the right time. And it's not, I mean, people think they're scared of having to have their phone on them. Like with the simple decision of, is it office hours or not? If it's office hours, I can do this from the lake because I can answer here. I can do it anywhere I want. And I can answer quickly. You're going to look at your phone anyway. Don't tell me you weren't. You were going to be on your phone at the lake. So just answer those. But all of those are the same. And the lube guy, it's just like we've automated 2 things that have made a big impact. One of them is as soon as the next morning after you come in for service, you get an automated, it sounds real, a ringless voicemail that says, Josh, saw you came in yesterday, took care of your car. I didn't get a chance to say hi, but thanks for coming in. If you have any questions, just call me right back. And people
at this number that I'm texting you from.
At the one I just sent you from, the voicemail.
Like the one that a human would use, yeah.
Yeah. And then that one and their Google reviews. It's a simple little, and that one's completely automated. Saw you came in. How did you like your experience? 1 through 10. If it's high, here's a link to Google reviews. And they are this front of every search term. Their location pops up and their SEO pops up because of all the Google reviews.
And I don't know, I mean, but their average sale has got to be fairly low. It's under $100, right? I mean, they're not talking about. So it's roughly about the same as what a massage or chiropractic office would charge, like somewhere between 50 and 100.
Yep.
And what were you able to do for them? I mean, you seeing like, so you're getting some SEO help. It's juicing that. You're getting a lot of reviews, which juice everything. You're getting a lot of social proof from that. But how about the hard lines? Like, can he measure a difference in sales after doing those 2?
Yeah, because now we've got all these people seeing the text messages.
Yeah.
Now Tuesday is the slowest day at the oil change shop. Tuesday morning, I automated, but he just goes on. He can text Tuesday morning, says, I've got 3 open spots for oil changes. I wanted to give a special deal to my existing customers first. Text me back if you want a spot. And he fills up his Tuesdays. It's literally money he didn't have this morning. Customers
he's already open 5 to 6 days a week, right? Maybe 7, I don't know. But
6 days.
That's got to be 6 days a week?
Yep.
Yeah, because you're in Utah. So
exactly
LDS day.
We're closed Sunday.
Yep. But either way, so that's, I don't know. So 5 would be 20%. So he's looking at a 15% gain by filling up 1 more day of the week.
Yep. Then it was a slow day. He had to pay people to be there. He's got to be open and ready.
Yeah.
But those oil changes, they're quick. And if you say you're an existing customer, offered it to you first, I feel special. I feel exclusive.
Right.
And I knew I needed to get it done anyway.
Right. That's incredible. Yeah, because it's like Southwest Airlines said, like you can never sell that seat once the plane's left the airport, right?
Right.
And every service business is like that. If you have 3 spots in the afternoon, 4 spots, 5 spots in the afternoon, whether you're a dentist or chiropractor or massage or gym or anything where you're selling time, filling those up is the difference between a barely making a day and a profitable day. You know, because 60 to 80% of all your work is going to be just to pay the bills because payroll's high, because you have people doing the work. So doing that is absolutely incredible.
Yep.
So Ross, tell people where they can get a hold of you. They're like, hey, I want to work with this guy because this is the system I want to work in. And then I'm going to ask you to qualify this.
Yep.
I know that you are, what is this like? This is like watching the UFC and seeing a guy, you know, submit a dude in like 4.5 minutes. And then walking into they're going to feel like walking into their local jiu-jitsu studio and like getting tapped out like by some guy in pure white gi, like this day sucked, you know? So give them your information and then let's kind of walk them through how to get to the Ross point.
Gotcha. Good question. So 3stepmarketing.com, it's all spelled out, or just email Ross at 3stepmarketing.com. But if you really care,
THREE.
Yeah, THREE.
Okay. Yeah.
I would much rather just get you to text me. And there is no keyword. It's literally me. 801-800-8133.
Repeat it one more time.
801-800-8133.
Okay. So you can set up this whole system and you can walk them through the strategy of like, hey, how many ads do we want to run? When do we run a runner on? What's the message we want to send?
Yep.
But more than that, because there's a bunch of, if you weren't LDS, my man, I would be using colorful language here.
Thank you.
There's a bunch of, what do you guys say? Dag nabbit, not so nice guys who will do the ad thing. That's a dime a dozen. It's that middle part that I think is really the recipe. So where could they start? Could you think of a halfway point between hiring you and where they are now that you're like, try this and you'll realize how powerful this is and then you want to hire me?
If you, honestly, just whatever your lead flow is, number one, ask for phones. They're actually not that hard to get. Most people will give up their phone when they're asked for it. It's amazing. You'll think different. And then with those, just test. Just challenge you to take the 10 most recent phones that you get and shoot them a text. Buy a burner phone if you have to. Anything at all. Just find a way to text from a 10-digit phone. Just being human. And this can be after, hey, how was your visit today? But really it's beforehand. It's like, hey, I saw you have an appointment today. Are there any questions I should be prepared for before you show up? And they're like, oh my gosh, wow. There is.
In a local office, local chiropractic office, if I know my new patients for this week, I got, Ross on Wednesday and Ryan on Thursday and Jim on Saturday. You're saying 2 days before, call those people and go, or text them and say, hey, it's Dr. Smith from ABC Chiropractic. I just want to check before I see that you're coming in on Thursday. I just want to check and see if you have any burning questions. You want to make sure I answer when you come in.
Yep. I want to be prepared for you.
All right. So if they're willing to do that, Ross, what do you think? What's your prediction in your incredible brain? That,
I will easily say 70% of those people, either on the phone or when they come in your office, will give some sort of the sentence of, no one's ever done that for me before. Either I can't believe that, or I was surprised with you.
That the doctor called me or texted me.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Thank you. And I also promise you that as long as you're a fit for them and you offer a good service, promise you your sales cycle got cut in half.
Interesting.
It was going to be someone on the be back bus. Yeah, think about it, be back. That got cut off. Or they're just that much closer because now the know, like, and trust is built. It's like you did something no one else did, and it was along the lines of caring. Okay.
Do you think I can pretty simply do that? Earlier in this conversation, we talked about the dead folks I haven't seen for a while. To make a list of 20, 50 of them and just text them and say, I haven't seen in a while. This is Dr. Smith. Just want to check in and see how you're doing, Mr. Walker.
Dude, if you told me, and it hasn't been proven, this is shooting from the cuff, but I've done enough of these, I bet it would work.
Yeah.
You texted me and says, I was looking at your file the other day and had a thought. And then you tell me that thought about whatever I've come to see you with. Immediately in my head, all these things went, you cared about me, you remembered me, you looked at my file, and you contacted me. My lawnmower guy doesn't think about me that much, and he sees my house once a week. Holy crap. Josh, what were you thinking? What did you find? I will reply.
All right.
Yeah.
So how many will they have to do before they have enough?
They do 5. They're going to have 2 appointments at least.
Okay.
Do 5 of those. At least 3 to 4 are either going to respond. As long as they're good numbers, 5 good numbers, you'll have 2 appointments.
Right. Wow. And then they can take that money and hire you.
Exactly.
There you go.
25 appointments. No, just kidding. Yeah.
But seriously, I mean, if you see that wheel turning, you realize how powerful this becomes, and you'll also realize how difficult it is to do off your personal phone manually. And you'll be like, dude, if I could 10 times this would blow me away.
If this happened without my thinking about it, holy smoke. Yeah, that'd be rocking.
Man, that's awesome. Well, Ross, I don't want to take any more time. I could go on for hours with you, man. This is awesome. I really, truly appreciate it, because I think what you explained in this podcast is the missing link of all this, like, fill up your office. Everybody wants a full office. Everybody wants to make sales, right? But there's this gap that nobody tells you how to solve, and you just solved it for everybody. So
there you
go. Once again, throw out your website, buddy, or what's the number you want them to text you at?
801-800-8133. And just make sure you mention the podcast. I give that number out a lot. So please do me the favor of giving me some context and saying, oh, listen to Dr. Satterlee. Okay.
Yeah. I heard your silky smooth voice on Clinic Gym Radio.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, Ross, I really appreciate the time today, and I hope you do get that gift that we're sending you, because this has been worth 10 of those. On behalf of Ross Walker from 3-Step Marketing, this is Dr. Josh Satterlee saying, go out there, maximize your license, and live the life you dream of. Thanks, Ross.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks so much for checking out these videos. I hope they're useful. We'll cover things like rehab, exercise, business model, progressions, layout, everything else that helps you build a clinic. So if you're interested, you can click here, there, here, or anywhere to get more videos just like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you soon.